going to work on a watercolor of a cat. I'm working on hot pressed paper, which has a much smoother feeling to it as opposed to cold pressed, which is a rougher texture to it. There's a little bit of a learning curve to get used to working with this paper, but it is definitely worth the effort. The paper I'm working on is Arches. It's 140 pound and it's an 8 by 12 size. My name is Holly. Welcome to Autumn River Designs. I'm starting off with a light sketch of the cat, and then I'm using the kneaded eraser to remove as much of the graphite as I can. Next, I'm putting an anchor point in, a little bit of alizarin crimson on the nose, just to give me a starting point. I'll list the paints below in the description. Now, a light wash of water. I'm going to be working wet on the head, so I'm going to put a wash down first. I'm using a silver black velvet number 8 brush, and I'm going to be using Ivory black. It's going to be a very light wash of this. And I'll work on the ears later on. So very gently, lightly, just moving about. Next, another wash of water, and we're moving on to Payne's Gray. And I'm using that where the light hits the beginning of the back, where the neck and the back join. Very lightly, you want to keep the edges as damp as possible. It gives you kind of a soft edge so that you don't get those hard edges that can happen so easily with watercolor. Just lightly going over the edges. At this point, I switched to a larger brush. This brush has a longer handle, and it's keeping my hand farther back on the brush, which is allowing me to make looser marks. Once again, we're going to use a wash of water, and then I'm picking up some of the black paint, and I'm just going to drop it in and let the paper and the water do a lot of the work for me. Lightly touching it and moving it about lightly, but I'm letting the paper do some of the work. I'm switching over to a mop brush now, and I'm putting water across the body of the cat. It's a Princeton Neptune number 8. Now I'm going to start with Payne's Gray, and I'm going to put that in the lighter area of the fur where the light is hitting it. And now we'll switch over to the Ivory black, and that'll be in the darker portions of the fur where there's not as much light showing. And next, some Van Dyke brown down in the tummy area. Starting to work on the legs now. So we'll go back to the wet on wet technique. And ivory black will be used as the paint. I'm going back over the edge right now. I'm trying to get a little definition because I've got one leg lying on top of the other. So I'm just very gently trying to make a definition here. I'm using a fan brush for fur and texture. I flick it across very wet paint and it just gives you the illusion of fur. So as I work my way across the painting, it's the same technique over and over. I add water, a wash of water, and then I work in the paint. Now we've worked back to the head. We're going to add a little bit of water on the ears and start to define them. Now we're going to start defining the head a little better. So we're going to have a second wash of ivory black on the head. And a glaze of Van Dyke brown. I'm starting to work on the face. I'm using yellow ochre, a touch of Van Dyke brown, and a little bit of Prussian blue. The Prussian blue I'm going to use as a shadow under the face and where it lies on the surface, and to add accents to the fur. I wanted to share the cat with you at this point. I just keep adding layer upon layer as I go. You can see where I've glazed Van Dyke brown on the belly, and then I've used Prussian blue up on the neck wherever it hit for highlights.